So when I think of Dwyane Wade, there's two memories that come out, and this is the first one. So he got drafted like 2003 or something like that out of Marquette, and I watched college basketball. He's very physical. He was a scorer, but he wasn't a pretty shooter, but he was so real physical. So I followed him. I was into him. I liked him. He played like a forward when he was a guard. About 2 years into the league, I talked to a coaching friend of mine. I'm like, this guy's on the floor constantly. He's never going to last. He plays like a power forward. And the coach said to me, he said, look at that body. That's a guy that works out every day of his life. He was built. He said, that kid could play football. He goes, I don't worry about his body. He said, these guys getting banged around that are skinny, these guys, those are the guys that fall off the cliff, right? And so Dwyane Wade, first ballot, one of the great players, probably a top 20 player in the history of the league. And he was so important for the league. Now joins us live. So I want to go back to when you came into the league, because I would watch you, and I'm like, there's no way this can last. He's literally a football player. He's getting tackled. He's falling on the hard floor. Did anybody early in your career, like Pat Riley, say, Dwyane, stop, don't be so physical? Did anybody ever say that to you?
Bob McAdoo. Bob McAdoo will tell me all the time, you're not going to last if you keep throwing your body all over the floor. And I was like, Bob, if I don't play this way, it ain't going to matter anyway because I'm not going to be good. I'm not a shooter. I'm not going to be good. So I had to play that way. That's what I grew up. That's how I grew up playing.
The other thing that's always jumped out to me is more personal. So this is very rare for a superstar. You made Shaq work. You made LeBron work. You married Gabrielle Union, a star in her own right. You have always you've never had a problem in your life. And this is how I view you, of saying, oh, I'm going to step back a little and I'm going to watch somebody else perform. And that is rare. Steph Curry's got that. You have that. 99% of entertainers, singers, you have been willing, and you didn't have to, but sometimes say, I'm going to be a co-star here a little bit. I'm going to make this thing work. Where does that come from? Because it doesn't seem hard. It seems innate. It seems like that is even in your fashion stuff. You work well with all sorts of people. You can be a star. You can be a co-star. Where does that come from?
First of all, thank you. I appreciate you noticing that quality. I don't think a lot of people really talk about that. And I don't know, Colin, I get joy out of watching others be successful. I get joy out of watching others get what they want. And I've been a part of, and I've been blessed enough from the game of basketball to play with some of the greatest players that will ever play the game of basketball. And one thing I knew going through this process of sport is that nothing got accomplished alone. And nothing felt great alone. Like I never want to go out to dinner and eat by myself. I want to eat at a table full of all the people I want to be with. And I want all of us to fight for the bill when it comes because we can all afford it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be the only one that can pull out my credit card. So that's, just an analogy. But I just use sport in life. When it comes to me and my wife, it's just like me and LeBron or me and Chris or me and Shaq. Like we're partners. And some days I'm going, I'm a lead, and some days she's going to lead, and some days someone else is going to have to lead because we ain't going to have a great night. It's just basketball has taught me so much, and I use it in life.
When you go back and you look at the Heatles and the magic of it, I want you to take me somewhere. So we all know 90% of what happened. I'm going to ask a favor. I want you to tell me the first phone call that ever happened, and I don't know who initiated it, and somebody said, it'd be kind of fun if we played together. I want a scoop, Dwyane Wade. I'll never ask another favor. What was the first call?
So the first call, I was living in Chicago, around the East Bank Club. I don't know how many people know what East Bank Club is. Yeah, so I lived the East Bank Club was pretty much my backyard. Yeah. And I get a call from my agent, Henry Thomas. At the time, Henry Thomas was we had just moved to CAA. We had a nice office downtown Chicago. And he said, come down, I want to talk to you about something. And I'm thinking, it's free agency time coming up, and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, you want to talk to me about free agency? Well, long story short, he brought me down there. And that was at the moment where Hank expressed to me what the Heat had the opportunity to do. I didn't know anything about the Heat having the opportunity to have enough money to be able to go get 2 other star players. And so that was the moment where we got on the phone, as in Leon Rose, who was representing LeBron James at the time, and Henry Thomas, who was representing me. Brown and I got on the phone, and I was all ears, and they presented this to us as, hey, this is something that we're hearing from the Heat. What's up? Kind of like, what's up? And so I would give the credit to probably, I think Brian knew about it before me, because I think Leon was one of the, I think Leon called Hank about, hearing about this and the opportunity. But Colin, it goes back to when we signed our deal the first time, when we signed a 3-year deal. We did the same thing. Our agents, being with the same agency, they came together and they talked about, the loophole in the contract to allow us to be able to sign this deal and sign another one before we get too old or whatever the case may be. So it's just that communications of 2 great agents who had relationships, but also had 2 clients who were friends and had relationships.
You something else is fascinating about you, and both you and LeBron, this is true of. You came into the league when it was more physical and starred. And then it got more finesse, no hand check, a lot of threes, and you also starred. I wonder if you've ever thought about this, because you're one of those guys, you would have succeeded, regardless. But the league now is, sometimes it's a 3-point shooting contest. I like in the NBA playoffs when the refs swallow the whistle and physical guys, because I miss the physicality of it. But do you sometimes look at this league and think, man, I came in at the right time where physical prowess, toughness mattered? Because that's where to me, that's where you made your mark. Like, this is the most physical guard I've ever seen in fact, I think you lead the NBA all time, most blocks by a guard. Do you think the time you came into the league was perfect? Your physicality mattered and you made an impact with it?
I do. I would 100,000% agree with you on the league and the rules of the game, the style of play. Everything was perfect for us as stars. And I thank the NBA for even noticing the game started to evolve to actually fit towards the way that we played the game of basketball as the young coming stars in the game. But I grew up playing physical because that's what the NBA, or that's what my community, or that's where, that's how I grew up playing basketball. So to me, it was just what you do. Now, if you ask me, can I play the game of basketball today and have the same success without having the ability to shoot threes like everybody else? I would say yes. Just like I watched DeMar DeRozan score 38 and 36 and 30. Right. If you could play the game of basketball, and the way that some guys can, you can play anywhere. So yeah, and I have to say, I'm so glad that the NBA has loosened the rules up, and we kind of going back to seeing some hand checking, seeing a little physicality. Yeah. It makes the game better. So thank you, NBA. You know what? I've been saying this, Dwyane. This is my theory on it, that the hand check, when they took away the hand check, more guards get hurt. Here's my theory. The hand check mostly kept guards from going into the forest and getting knocked over by the trees. Now, you can't stay in front of any of these guys. And so they attack the basket. A 6'11" guy from Lithuania comes over, blocks them. They crash to the floor. They don't have your body. So the hand check, I think I told either Adam Silver or somebody, I said the hand check will keep your guards healthier, actually, because now it's just too darn easy to get to the basket now. Anyway, that's my stupid theory. Okay, I want to go to something else. When you look at your career, you're going to get into the Hall of Fame, obviously. And I know where you're from in Chicago. In fact, you were talking about that health club. I was on a boat tour not long ago in Chicago, and they pointed that club out, and they said, Barack Obama works out at that club. So I know that club. That's like a legendary club, right? So I used to be on the boat tour. They used to say Dwyane Wade lives there. It was amazing. Yes. It's a great tour, by the way. If you're in Chicago, it's fascinating. So what would go back to your childhood and your dreams, and you've accomplished all this, will you be emotional when you get into the Hall of Fame? Like, what will you think of when you're at that podium and you're into the Hall of Fame? What human in your life will you think of? My mother, my father, probably be the first 2 people. I being a kid, and, I talk about my journey very openly. My mother and my father do. But, going through life and being 9 years old, and sitting across from your mother. And it's a big plastic, a big, going to prison and using a phone and having to talk to my mom through this plexiglass, through this big, thick plexiglass. That image will never go out of my head. So when I'm on that podium that day, when I get the opportunity, if I'm blessed enough to get the opportunity to be there, to accept it, that's what's going to go through my mind. It's going to be moments and memories like that. Like, Colin, you hear athletes say it all the time, like, we're not supposed to be here. Well, it's so many things that try to get in my way, to try to knock me down and try to keep me down from being here. Whether it was my mom going to prison, whether it was not passing the ACT score, whether it was having Zaire at 19 years old, whatever it was a lot of roadblocks. And I'm going to think about those roadblocks. And that's the reason I even write a book, because I know it's kids out there that will have roadblocks, and you need an image of someone to see that you can get past it.
I know the Heat offered you some ownership, and so did the Jazz. But since I ski in Utah all the time and go to Jazz games, I like that. Nothing against Miami, but I think it's great, and it's a well-run operation. So I want to congratulate you on that. And in fact, Joy, I think you mentioned this yesterday on the show, is that we are seeing now, Michael Jordan, obviously, Dwyane Wade up. Magic's got some Dodger ownership in this. And it's funny because I know that Miami offered you some and Utah, and my takeaway was, Utah gave you a better business deal. Am I right on that? I mean, let's be honest.
Let's just say I couldn't pass up on an opportunity to grow alongside Ryan Smith. Everything that he stands for, everything that he's trying to build, in the city, in the state of Utah is something that I couldn't pass up on. I talked to Ryan years ago and told him, when I retired, I wanted to learn more about the tech world. I wanted to be a bigger investor. I wanted to make my money work for itself. And I knew tech was an important part of that. And so it's just so many opportunities that, that presents itself for me. Utah's an hour, 15 minutes away from my house. But I think the most important thing is my legacy in Miami is I like where it is. I don't want to mess with it right now. I don't want to touch it right now. For me, I'm in my business mindset. So my business mindset, I felt that Utah was the best opportunity for my services and what I can bring to not only a team, but to a state, at the same time as we're in this process in the world, as we're trying to move everyone forward. And, Ryan Smith and Ashley Smith are doing it. So I'm proud to be partners of theirs in this business venture called the Utah Jazz.
All right. It's a beautiful arena, too, by the way. This is the book right here. It's beautiful. Photographic memoir. There's basketball stuff. Go to Amazon.com and get it. There's all sorts of stuff. Great family pictures here. Look at you. You get fashionable. Oh, look at that. Beautiful wife right there. Wow. God, you guys are good-looking people. Man, oh, man. Look at that.
Well, look what the makeup can do. I'll tell you that.
Look at that right there. The poolside.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
You guys are good-looking. I'm a little bit jealous right there. I'm not going to lie to you. All right, Dwyane, absolute pleasure. You've given so much to the game. It was so nice of you to stop by. You got a million shows that want you on. You were nice enough to come on our show, and you're a credit to the game, and I just love you to death, man, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate the platform and opportunity, and I love your show. I comment on your show, but I'm a big Joy fan, so I really watch it for her. Sorry, Colin.
Just like you, I'm a giver. I'm okay. I'll be a co-host. Thanks, Dwyane. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.